Welcome back to Market on Close. We got an overlooked stock that's up. Let's talk about something green. I hate that we have to go to China to do it. Isn't that where you go for red, George? It's a Kevin Hinks joke.
Yeah, I mean, look, OJ, taking a look at some of the Chinese stocks, this one, Hesai, has just been an absolute winner over the past, particularly the past couple of quarters. They really started making a move going back to November of last year, and it was really based on their earnings and the projections going forward. And the other thing is it's not been around a long time, at least from a publicly traded U.S. standpoint, because this is a Chinese company. It's based out of Shanghai. And they manufacture and sell technologies, primarily LiDAR technologies, which are, light detecting and range technologies for autonomous vehicles. But it's also commercial vehicles. We kind of look at autonomous vehicles as passenger cars, but commercial vehicles, which may include semi-trucks and even street sweepers, for instance. These are other examples where we'll probably see autonomous vehicle technologies deployed. As well as logistics robots and last mile delivery robotics. So these are areas we know that are in high demand. They're secular growth stories, and Hesai is essentially really gaining traction, not just necessarily from a Chinese equity standpoint, but their top line sales have been pretty remarkable considering last year's growth, but also estimates going forward. Now, if you do look at the context, first off, the market is very favorable right now for equities outside the United States, primarily Chinese equities. They did report also a pretty good report from an earnings and sales standpoint. Now, if you look at the EPS guidance or the EPS numbers the company reported yesterday, they actually missed the estimates by about 3 cents. So they published 17 cents versus the 20-cent estimate. But that was a complete turnaround from the loss of 13 cents last quarter for the same quarter last year. Sales were higher by about 28%. To about $99 million. But what's happening here is if you just look at the sales and earnings estimates for fiscal year 2025, prior to yesterday's release, the estimates for the full year are around 19 cents. So for this quarter, or the quarter they just reported at the end of 2024 fiscal year, they reported 17 cents. Now that 19 cents for this year has actually moved higher to about 37 cents. And the estimated sales for this year is expected to be around 483 million. And that's important because if you look at the last 4 quarters in total, it was around 284 million. So this company's been growing substantially, both in sales and earnings, but they also received, and this is the other catalyst, a pretty significant contract from Daimler or Mercedes-Benz. And effectively, what's happening here is Mercedes is actually using Hesai's LiDAR technologies, but they're not using it for the Mercedes vehicles, both commercial and passenger vehicles that are sold in China. They're actually going to be using Hesai's LiDAR technologies for all their vehicles globally. And I think this is an important turnaround for Hesai, especially the confidence in the business, because Mercedes is very careful in what they use technology-wise in their vehicles, but they're using Hesai's technologies for all of their passenger vehicles. And this is a huge earmark contract and a huge supply agreement, which is another catalyst of why the stock was higher.
All right. I mean, it looks like it's got a lot going on for a long time now. So big deal. You get big partners and a nice kind of secular growth story in an industry that's been in pretty rough shape. Hasn't been terribly, if you think about a lot of those semiconductors tied to a lot of this tech, they haven't done great. So this is a pretty unique outperformer. Thanks, George.